DJNTV show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday night. We are back, we are ready, and we are here for you. Yeah, just you. Well, yeah, I guess you too.
But not
that one over there.
No, not that one. That was.
See, they said they got to the third one and they said not you, and that's obviously me. I can tell.
No,
I
we're not here for you, but we're never here for you.
Trust me, I know this. I've been down this road before with both friends and females.
I was gonna say we're not. This isn't a dating thing, MJ. So we're good. We're good. So thank you for joining tonight. Tonight we're going to dig into a topic that we've kind of been dancing around this one over the last couple of years. And we're going to really dig into it tonight because it came from a couple of conversations I had with some recent brides where they have talked about in that question and answer time where we're trying to find out more about what they're wanting for their day, the phraseology of having a club feel for their reception and that their friends were going to have this great party atmosphere around this kind of a club idea around the couples was something they talked about. So it's like, let's dig into that a little bit tonight and see what it is they're talking about. And then we're going to see and kind of put our heads together and see if it's actually something we can attain as mobile DJs. Because there's a lot of, it isn't, I don't think it's as easy as some of us think it is to be able to create that atmosphere. So I think to start off though, MJ, this is kind of going to fit into your area because you do such a wonderful job of talking about this and kind of defining these entertainment spaces that we're going to be talking about tonight. People talk about the club, and then there are events I have done, but we around here we go, oh yes, that's our club, but it's really not a club. So let's kind of talk about, kind of go through that for us, if you would please.
How deep of a definition do you need?
Well, it depends.
Because there are subcategories and everything.
Let's just stick with the big ones, and then we can, we need to, we'll come through. And
first things first, I always tell people is you have to look at real estate. What real estate inside that building is dedicated for determines what it is. So if the majority of the area is dedicated for dancing, chances are it's a club. Unless the place is 12 by 12 and there's a 2-foot bar, so 10 by 12 is the dance floor. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you have just your average size place and the majority of it is dedicated dance floor, then that's a club. If there is a lot of chairs around that you can sit on, but there's still a dance floor, that falls into a lounge category, which also can have subcategories. We'll get to those in a minute. And if the majority of the place is dedicated to drinking, whether you're drinking at a bar, drinking at a table, even if there's a tiny place to dance, if the majority of it is set for drinking, then it is a bar. If there is no dance floor, if there are no lights, if there are no anything, then that's what we call a bar, to where it's not trying to be anything but a bar. You're not going to, if you're going to DJ there, you're not going to play dance, you're not going to have to worry about people dancing. You're playing music for them to enjoy. When you get to the lounge, there are different types of lounges. One that was very famous for years was called the Ultra Lounge. And it's basically a lounge, couches, places to sit, relax, but lots of lights, loud music. Most lounges have a little lower music, but the Ultra Lounge has the lights going and different things like that. You also have different ones that you're going to specify, like Champagne Lounge, where it's like a lounge, but it's dedicated to certain types of drinks. So you might have a smoke lounge. I know places that had a lounge up front and a smoke lounge in back, and they looked similar. One was a smoking area, one was a non-smoking area.
Sure.
And then you get to the clubs, you have per size, and this is where people always get into debates. If it's full of people dancing, it's a club. No. It might be a successful bar. It might be a happening place, but club takes up a different scene, to where club means that there is designated sound for dancing, not just speakers thrown up, where it is looked at the room and go, we want to do this with this. Lights are permanent and abundant and facing in a direction. It is advertised as a place to go and dance. And then the bigger you get, then they categorize that different things. And then if I'm correct, if you have like 3,000 and over capacity, that is known as a super club. And there are super clubs that go up into 20,000 people in certain places around the world. Just humongous. I spun in one that was between 3 and 5 people. They said there was 3,000 capacity, but it was always more than that. And it's just a sea of people about the size of a football field dancing to what you're playing. And that's literally bars around the outside, football field down the center, big like that. So that's the difference. What the inside is dedicated for is kind of determines it. And I hope that wasn't too long.
No, I think that's
that help?
That's kind of a good.
And it can keep in mind also, we don't want to segregate music either. So you could have a super club that plays country music, or a super club that plays techno, or a super club that plays hip hop. You can have a lounge that does all that too. So it's not necessarily club music that you're going to hear in a club, because you can have a country club, which is country music, big area designated for dancing. It's still a club, but it's genre specific. So keep that in mind too. So.
And that's pretty much what, whenever I go out, I always look for the club styles, because that's the kind of person I am. But for people who don't, hit the clubs as hard as I do, it's good for you to explain.
With that definition, John, how far would you have to drive to find a club?
Minneapolis.
Okay.
Yeah, Minneapolis, really, because there are some places that consider themselves or want to play that card, but really they're a bar with a small dance floor.
How do you consider small?
20 by 20.
That's kind of small, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really about the largest area, because in the outstate, there has to be food sold. They have to be able to move food in order to make ends meet. If they can't be selling food and having a dining. So first off, when you talked about limited chairs, that there aren't any chairs at all or very few, most of the places have to have that food to get people.
That's what the clubs here that you'll find. There's different types that go into that, but a lot of them are open 2-3 nights a week max. Nights. They're open from like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. or 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Nothing else. So,
Dan, are there any establishments like that in your neck of the woods?
Yeah. We have we really just have one anymore. We have a couple other places that are trying it. But we have one that is, it's mainly, it's set up for dance floor. There's a couple bars within, but it's definitely, the focus is the dance floor. And I would also say somewhat because of the layout of the building, it's a historic building, so they really couldn't do a lot. The bar, I think, ends up being a little bit bigger than what they want, but they couldn't make like a way to get to the drinks otherwise. So it almost becomes maybe a 50-50 type of thing.
It's a bar with a very open floor plan, you're saying?
No, that's the problem. It's very constrictive. So it's in an old jail. Okay. It's in an old jail. So it's a very long, narrow place. And so the dance floor is like the back 3/4 of it, and the bar is out front. Now the bar, like I said, becomes long because it can't be wide.
Mm-hmm.
That can work. Yeah. There's been some strange clubs I've been to with themes, and there's one here in the city that's called the Tiki Lounge, and it is decked out like it's a 90s tiki bar, because that was the last time it was decorated. And you go through this tunnel to go into the back area, and it's so there can be a lot of things in this world. So when people talk about the club feel, sometimes you do have to ask, more specific question.
Sure. No, and that's kind of what we're getting. That's one of the takeaways I want to have from tonight's show is that there's more questions to be asked to get to that point.
I want to bring something up, and you guys can discuss it whenever you want, because I've always found the problem that the couple really wants a club feel because they like going to the club, but the person paying for the wedding is that something you could see in your? Because again, I'm asking you because you guys are in that world. Is that something that could change a decision to be club-like?
Go ahead, Dan. I'll let you.
I think it definitely can. However, where I've seen a lot more of the request for club feel comes from couples who are actually, at least from what's the money that's coming to me is coming from them. You know, the parents are not chipping in for that piece. Now, are they chipping in for enough that they might have some say in it a little bit farther down the road? Maybe, but it never really seemed to kind of factor too much because, again, what we're going to kind of get into tonight, more conversation was had, and we got to a better understanding of what they really wanted.
Yeah, and I've had situations, and all of us have, where you talk to the couple and they have one idea, and you talk to when the parents are like, "Oh, I don't know about that." So you do definitely have that multi-generational conflict, for lack of a better way to describe it, that is out there. And sometimes money has a bearing on it, and sometimes it doesn't matter who's paying for it. There will be someone who will share their displeasure that you're playing that type of music or you're trying to create that type of an atmosphere when grandma wants to polka.
Can I just make a confession right here? So I'm digging through some of my music over the weekend, just seeing what's there, trying to bring stuff that I don't play a lot up in. And I came across a song called Polka Face. And I'm like, what is this? And someone took Lady Gaga's Poker Face, the words, and put it over a polka song.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm like, where did I get this at? So if you're interested in that, let me know. I can hook you up with Polka Face by Lady Gaga and somebody else.
Funny. So let's kind of jump into more of the. We've already talked about some of the attributes of that kind of a club feel. Let's dig into the kind of make that laundry list, for lack of a better way to describe it, of what a bigger city club would entail or have.
I want to. At some point, you guys address this, because, again, I don't know the wedding side like you do. When someone says club feel, do they mean the style of music to be mixed like a club? Do they mean lights like a club, atmosphere, or a little bit of both? What are you thinking they're saying? So before we get into that, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that more of the questioning has to happen, because if you just go with that phrase of, oh, we want a club feel, what does that mean? And for some people, I don't think they realize the nuances of what is all entailed with it. They're like, oh yeah, and they're just assuming that they put up 3 lights instead of 2 or whatever. They add more, or they maybe bring more subwoofers, and now it's a club feel because it's got more bass, and it's more. It could be potentially more than that, but if you don't ask, you'll never know for sure. But what they're
some of it, that was my guess. That some of it they just mean mixing style, so that the DJ doesn't stop a song and play a song or just do a fade across, because that's what I hear a lot of people like. I'm tired of hearing the song. Stop. So, anyways, go ahead, John. Your question for us that we're missing.
So, let's talk about more attributes. And obviously, mixing is going to be one of those attributes of a club that you may not see in I don't want to say bar situation, but maybe in a traditional 1980s wedding. If we go back into the early days of wedding. So, what other attributes could we put on our little list here?
Now, if somebody was saying, I have my earbuds cutting out on me here.
Yeah.
If somebody was saying club-like wedding, for me, it's got to be a combination of, number one, the DJ has to mix like a club DJ. Because I'm telling you, when I try to tell wedding guys that's what these people hear when they watch videos on YouTube, they're pre-mixed. Everything is mixed. Every song is mixed every time. And it's done in a way that's very energetic. So you have to have that. You would have to have an abundance of lights. And I'm not talking up lights around the room. I'm talking lights focused on the dance floor. And you have to have booming sound that would make it difficult to have a conversation on the dance floor. I think those 3 are probably your your go-tos in some configuration or another.
That's interesting. The being able to quantify the sound specifically, that it has to be at that level where conversation is impeded or
people won't dance. Here's the thing. People are insecure. That's why they need so much alcohol to get out on the floor and dance. If you make it dark, they're more comfortable. If you make it loud enough they can't hear their feet shuffle, they're more comfortable. So the more you put them in that spot where they lose their surroundings to be in that moment, I talk about that all the time, the more success you're going to have.
Very interesting. And from a wedding perspective, as for most of my weddings, having the volume at that level, especially for the above 40 crowd, and that's obviously not the crowd that a club is aiming for, but you definitely get that, can you turn it down a little bit? It's really kind of driving through. It's interesting that is an important aspect of that club atmosphere.
That to me, if you could pull off the other two, the mixing and the lights, without the killer sound, I think it would be accepted by a lot more of those 40-year-olds.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, you could pull that off and have not too many people complain, but still give a club feel.
I think it's also, you mentioned about, the sound and everything is directed at the floor. So when you're on the floor, you can't have those conversations. And I think for a lot of mobiles, if they attempt to get to a volume level that would direct that on the floor, they haven't set up speakers in such a way that it's only going to be that way on the floor. And so those, the 40 somethings or whatever that are on the outside that are not necessarily dancing, that's where it becomes even more intrusive to them.
Yeah. I'm guessing even venue layout can make that difficult to accomplish too.
Very much so.
Oh yeah.
Very much so. When we're getting all set up and there's the head table and we have to have speakers on either end of the head table because of just placement of the DJ in relation to that becomes a little bit more difficult to have that pounding sound or that high level of sound on the dance floor without getting really unusual noise canceling happening, because you've got sound bouncing off walls coming back, and we're not optimized for that space that way. So let's talk a little bit about the lighting. You mentioned, of course, that the lighting is focused on the dance floor. Is there a type of lighting that you would envision as more of a club feel lighting compared to, you mentioned not up lights, but what kind of lighting would really be? I mean, are we having to get into spin and pukes? Is that acceptable? Are we looking at high-end moving heads, UV lighting? What?
I made two lists before tonight because I overdo everything. And my two lists are involved must-haves and must-dos to make it a club feel.
Okay.
And one of mine must-haves has to do with lights. And it is number, where's it at here? The must-haves, a lot of lights, ... that don't work. So the majority of clubs I've been in, there are lights that have a mind of their own that either points straight down the whole night and shivers, it points at the back wall, points at the bartenders in their eyes. So
it just never functions properly. Yeah,
it does not function properly.
I can do that one.
Yeah, seriously. But I would say, because here's the thing, it's got to be moving. So lights on and off to me aren't club lights.
Okay.
Some sort of motion, sweeps, turns, intelligent, pre-programmed, off the sound meter ones, whatever. I just think it has to be motion of some sort. And the further you go up, you can go up into things that are unified. You can go up into lasers, which are really, I don't think anybody I've ever met puts lasers into a wedding reception, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah, there are some people who do that.
Okay, so that's a possibility to do that. But to me, it's got to be motion of some sort. And the more unified that you can do that to the beat and to each other, not just have lights doing random, but let them move in unison. Those who are listening to this on audio did not see my hands moving in unison, because we do have a lot of audio listeners, audio-only podcasts. So if you don't know and you're interested in watching these shows or listening to them while you're doing other things, there are audio podcasts of all these for Just Jockey News. But yeah, they have to be in unison.
So you play in a variety of different clubs around the area there. How are you handling the lights, the light show, to sync everything up? How is that dealt with? Because I very seldom hear you ever talking about lighting. It's always, you bring your board in and plug in and off you go, is what you've talked about most of the time.
There's usually a computer there that you are also responsible for. That the one place I was doing at the college had 2 programs up, one that ran the lights, one that ran the lasers, and they were pre-programmed things, and every once in a while you have to go over and switch them up. Or if you know you're going to do something exciting, really high energy, you'll hit the one that does the strobes or the move fast or darken it. So if you have a song that's laid back and kind of sexy, you do that. And most of them are like that. High-end clubs all have light techs, so they take care of it on beat, everything. They're doing tap buttons to get them in sync with the music, all that kind of stuff. They have cryo cannons, all kinds of stuff like that when you go to a full-size club. It just, the atmosphere, there's an entire industry built around atmosphere of these things. Has nothing to do with lights, has nothing to do with anything but atmosphere. You're creating a club atmosphere, and that includes making sure everything is unified. There are smells that are put into the room. There is a certain amount of haze that has to be put into the room and stuff like that. The cryo cannons have to be launched at certain points, synced with the music and things like that. So if you want to take a club to a wedding, there's stuff there that's going to scare people. I saw a video recently. A friend of mine told me you got to watch this because a lot of people that own the cryo, they're built in, but there's DJs that own them and take them as part of their show. Mm-hmm. And a kid took the cryo cannon and wasn't paying attention and hit his laptop. His laptop went flying out into the audience. It was so sad.
Oh, whoops.
So it can go to the ends of the earth, or it can be simple. But again, I think it all comes down to, is it centered? Again, like I said, real estate is most of the real estate dedicated to dancing. And if you want that club feel, there has to be an area dedicated to be lost in that whatever square foot you're creating at the wedding. Like wedding guys who put up trussing around a dance floor, you could pull off a club feel so easily with that. Mm-hmm. But that's a lot to take.
Yeah, definitely. MJ, let's go through your must-have list here a little bit, because we're kind of in that area. So let's hit that before we move on to the...
All right. You're not going to like my must-haves, because you know awesome. Me, I'm honest. Must-have number 1, an unearned sense of superiority. As a DJ, you must have an unearned sense of superiority. Number 2, music too loud, parentheses, 4 speakers for humans. So it can either be too loud that the speakers can't take it anymore, or if you have really good speakers, too loud for humans to take it. Number 3, lots of lights and lots that don't work. For a club, you have to have a VIP area to keep the people with too much money and big mouths contained into one area so you can keep an eye on them the whole night so they don't cause trouble. And the final thing you must have is someone feeding your fragile ego constantly.
See, now some of those could be done at a wedding. I mean, I can
oh yeah,
VIP area.
Those are there's more to a club than that, but there's a lot. As a DJ, I look at these people and they don't consider it a club unless there's alcohol in the booth. They don't consider it a club unless they get comped all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
There's a lot involved in that. But that's my, when you said club, like, that's my must-haves to make it a club.
I like that, the sense of superiority.
Well, it is. There's people that think that they change the world. I mean, that's part of my must-dos, which we'll get into that also. You're playing other people's music all night. You're not healing humans. You're not repairing the broken.
Turning water into wine or anything, man.
You're playing not even your own music. You're playing other people's music back. Something that any telephone or computer can do also.
Yay, iPad.
Is a place that I DJ'd at that they opened way before the DJ got there. So it was a lounge, people could hang out, and they literally had an iPod there with tape across it that said DJ iPod.
And it probably did very well for the crowd.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, for the cocktail time, for surely. Let's talk about microphone use. That's obviously with a wedding, in a wedding DJ world, that's a big part of what we do. And there's been many people who have created training programs around microphone use at weddings. How would that change when it comes to using a microphone in a club?
That also, again, depends upon when you ask what type of club, because there's many clubs I've been in where they do not allow the DJ to speak ever. Don't talk. And other clubs, the manager will be the one talking into the mic. Other clubs, they do let the DJs they trust talk on the mic, but it's always hype, 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 hype. You would think more of a bar mitzvah type person talking into the mic than a wedding DJ type. So you could think that type of hype if you want to make that feel. Get them, you're just, come on, here we go. Sing along, whatever, but it's more than just that professional. You're getting a little, forgive me for using this word, you're getting a little cray.
So really it's kind of one extreme or the other, either a lot or nothing. You
are Captain Energy. That's part of your job. I mean, even as I DJ, I'm jumping around, dancing, having a good time. I am supposed to sell it too.
But you may or may not be on the microphone. Probably most likely aren't on the microphone. You are just through your actions and motions and emotion, you're showing that energy. Yeah.
But some do, some don't want you to. There was a friend of mine who filled in for me one night at a club, and he was on the mic a lot. And the owner said, hey, if he comes back and fills in for you, make sure he knows not to be on the mic that much. He does not need to talk that much. Next time you add him fill in, he's sending me a text at the end of the night, my friend. Oh, man, I killed this dance floor. It was awesome. Everything was great. The exact same time that the owner was sending me a text going, don't ever bring him back here again. He never shut up. But yet other ones want hype. But you've got to be that. If you're not the person who does hype at some sort of event, I'm not talking them how much you talk, but that hype way of talking, then that's going to be a tough sell for you. Like I said, people who do mitzvahs and stuff like that, you're used to that, bringing the dancer in, doing this, that sort of thing, a little bit more pop. But you're dedicating it to unifying the dance floor more than announcing someone. Think about if you've ever done an intro to a bridal party that they wanted it really, really hype.
Yep.
That's kind of like that, but shorter bursts.
And Dan, that's how you pretty much do your weddings already, isn't it?
Always.
He climbs up on the rope with his WWE belt.
I stand up on my booth, man.
Smell what Dan is cooking.
I think I'd like to see that video clip.
You didn't see it already?
I haven't seen that one. No. Maybe that's
why
why
they pay them not to post it. So it's a surprise for everybody when it happens.
Yeah, that's probably how that little trim piece got broken on your booth, I suppose. Yeah.
There you go. He said bumped in the trailer.
Yeah,
that was him off the top row.
Yeah,
elbow down the middle of the crowd,
Boom.
crowd surfing.
Yeah. Okay, so we've kind of gone through kind of what's involved with a club, and what might be part of their vision of what they're seeking. What was your second list about, MJ? You had a second one, you said.
Must-dos. The must-haves and the must-dos.
So let's get into that. We'll start off with the must-do list, which will probably explain everything, and then after that, we'll kind of see what we can interpret for a mobile performance.
I think when I get done with reading this, I'm going to say what I think when someone says they want a club feel at a wedding reception. Mm-hmm. You guys can run with that from there, because like I said, you guys do them. So there's a difference between someone's wish for their wedding and the wedding day. And I think that's where you as a good DJ have to translate that across between their ideas and what you bring to the night. So I'm going to leave that for you guys.
Sure.
All right. The must-dos to make a wedding club-like. You must act like what you are doing is life-changingly important. And yes, changingly is a word. Life-changingly important for everyone who hears you, sees you, or is touched by your shadow.
Touched by your shadow.
You must have some sort of chemical in your body that impairs your ability to mix, so that you can blame your talentless ability on a chemical. Here I'm just going to start throwing quotes up. Keep in mind, You must not prepare ahead of time and just go off academics. We're just we're going to do academics. That's all we need. Academics, whatever, dude. This is one where I want to invent a controller or mixer that stops this action, but you must touch every knob or slider in the DJ booth over and over until people think you are doing something important. Just keep touching things.
Just keep touching them.
And the final one, you must take lots of selfies. Saying this, you'll see pictures that I post after the show tonight from the weekend. I am taking care of my multi-selfie thing this weekend. With the GoPro, it's been a great addition to getting great selfies and stuff. So.
The important things. See, I think that list is the one we should have posted. The important part. Yeah.
So like I said, when I hear someone say, I want a club like Wedding, to me, first thing first, they want music that mixes and goes and doesn't stop and keeps that energy, because to someone who's used to that energy continuing without any hiccups, without any stops, without any down, the slightest little down is catastrophic to them. Playing the wrong song, even if it's on beat, same energy level and everything, can be catastrophic. And that's one of the things they talk about. I think they want that continuous mix to get lost in. But also, you can also, in my opinion, you could say they want the dance floor a little darker than normal. Because a lot of wedding guys like to get out there and be a part of things, and they like to have the lights up so they can be seen. But the club life is about getting lost on the dance floor. So I think two of those things you could pull that off. Again, the sound is just something. They want booming sound, but you can't have that even in all venues. Whether everybody in the place wants it, not all venues will even okay that. So that's my thing. What do you guys think the translation goes from somebody saying those words, I want a club like Wedding, to that?
Well, I think there's two different things. When they're talking about wanting this, I agree with you that they're wanting that constant connection, that constant energy throughout. But I don't think they ever have the full concept of what that means for themselves, right? Because for couples, they get the idea of, I like dancing, I want to dance, and this is how I'm going to dance, this is what's going to work. And yet what ends up happening is that works great for 15 minutes until their great aunt who needs to leave pulls them off the dance floor for 20-minute conversation.
Yep.
And they let it happen. And, vice versa, something else happens and it pulls things away. And so I think they have this concept that fits a club in their mentality, but in reality doesn't necessarily work for what they're going. And what I'll use this kind of example is, if you go to a club and you're not a VIP, okay, because that's all about the status symbol, right? So if you go to a club, most likely your goal, at least one of them, is to dance, right? You're going to have that dance experience, right? If you wanted to drink, you'd go to the bar, right? So the idea is to dance. When you go to a wedding, your goal is to celebrate with the couple, to experience that opportunity of them coming together. And then, yes, you might want to dance, but the goal is to experience what happened that day, which is the union of the two people. So sometimes I think that contradiction of just what was the purpose of the day creates such a problem. The other huge thing that I often see is couples that want the club party don't invite people that go to clubs. They get their collection of friends, and it's like, okay, but there's 120 other people at this event that are not club people.
How long do you think the average bride and groom spends on a dance floor at a wedding? Because I know they're pulled, like you said, Dan, conversations. What do you think? John, either one.
If I can get them
percentage,
but if I can get them over half the time on the dance floor, they're a good dancing couple. I've had sometimes where they've been up there 3/4 time, but most of the time you're probably looking at somewhere between 20 and maybe 50% if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So
I often tell my couples.
I was going to say, making that person who wanted that club thing isn't going to be available to be in it all that much.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Very good point.
I think what they're looking for more is the energy that goes with it, and instantly I can think of probably 4 or 5 DJs who are awesome at putting out recap videos and promotion videos of themselves, of the weddings that they're doing, and they're so high energy and they're so great at what they do that it looks like it's an over the top. Everybody's jumping and clapping and everything, and it's going for 5 hours and just that. In reality, that's what they see, but I mean, that's what they see through the promotion video, but that's not necessarily what happened that night. It's the beauty of editing and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that the ones that were instantly coming to my mind are not performing at a level that's very high and maybe is able to perform all night long, but I don't think they're getting that out of every wedding. So yeah, exactly with what John was saying. If I get them 50% of the time on the dance floor, I think it's great. I often tell my couples, like, listen, your guests are going to go where you are. Yep. So keep in mind, if you want them on the dance floor, I'm not saying you have to be on the dance floor, but you got to be near it. So if you get pulled away for that conversation, don't go outside, go to the edge. Go to the edge, and then that way you're still there. And when the conversation ends, you can come back on. But if you go outside, they're going outside, and your guests are going to go outside. I don't care how great of a DJ you might think I am or I might be. I'm not keeping them here if you're out there.
So you got to dedicate the sound to the dance floor, but only the dance floor, so you can have talkable sound just off the dance floor.
And that's actually
that's got to be a difficult thing to achieve.
But that's really an important thing. And Brian's done a lot of videos talking about that, is trying to have that good quality, high level sound on the dance floor, and to have it so people can talk.
Yeah, that right there, what you just said, is something that me as a club DJ never thought of. That you'd have to consider that as being where they're going to be, everyone else is going to be.
Mm-hmm. And I think the column arrays that we've seen come on now, what's been 6 years since I think the Evolve and the RCFs. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that kind of becomes a benefit to them, because you get that full sound. It's not, you get that complete sound, but you can be on the outskirts. You can still have those conversations, and you can even be on the floor, oh, this was our song. And you actually hear the person saying that. I don't think the couples are looking for that over the top sound. I don't, and I could be wrong, but any of them that I've run into that have wanted that club aspect, the sound in your face so loud they can't hear, is not one of them. And I will also tell you this, the venues that I've been in don't want it either.
Yeah.
I've actually had, and I still remember it was 10/10/2020. It was a wedding that I had. It was at a venue I'd never been before. And the bride was talking to the owner afterwards, and the owner was just like kind of a little worried, because I guess was talking with the bride, like, we could hear what was going on, and we could actually kind of understand, like, because their house is like next door to this barn, we could understand what was going on. That's very different than what I used to experiencing. Like, was it loud enough in there? And she's like, oh, inside it was awesome. Like, she's like, on the floor, she's like, it was great. She's like, it was a big party. And the venue owner was very happy because it wasn't like an over the top intrusiveness to them in their house and their neighbors. It was, it was clear. And yet the bride got what she wanted, which was a great sound and a party feel. I
think that right there sums up how to pull that off, because that was one of the first things I said about, clubs are about crazy loud sound, but it's more about the energy of the mix and the feel of being on the dance floor, where you can achieve that just with lighting and stuff. And that's something that you can designate areas quite easily. You could make an area brighter and another area not so bright, much easier than you could make an area loud and another area not so loud.
Very true.
That's why I wanted to hear you guys, because you guys deal with the bride and groom. The flow of the day. So to me, the stuff that I put into this conversation is just stuff that's there at every kind of venue, but has nothing to do with people. They want to draw the people in to drink alcohol, spend money. That's their goal. So anything beyond that is unimportant. If they had a white noise that got people to come in and drink, they would play nothing but white noise. So it's different when you're trying to create a special day. And I think that's what, for those people trying to figure this out, who joined in tonight to learn about this, John and Dan are going to be able to just explain to you those nuances of reality versus wishes.
Let's dig into the light show a little bit, Dan, because you did a wonderful job of hitting into the sound and the music with that. But let's deal with the light show. I agree with MJ's assessment that we are looking, not so much with the ambient lighting of the room, but we need to have dance floor lighting with this. Now, the lighting that we can get in a club, a real club, compared to what we need for a mobile DJ event, if we're using intelligent lighting and that can move beams moving around, there's some differences between what we should keep in mind when we're doing lighting for our mobile events compared to the club. Let's kind of talk about a couple of those that would jump out at you right away.
I'm not sure where we want to necessarily go with this. So first off, in club aspect, exactly what MJ was saying, like, those DJs who bring in the full trussing that would cover the whole dance floor, like the spider truss, or, something where like the whole, like you can actually suspend stuff over top, like, even if you get into the rigging, like that's over the top. And I know more DJs who do that for a school dance than those that ever attempt it for a wedding. And it could be for a multitude of different reasons that I have no clue on, but I think if they're looking for that, type of club lighting, you're looking for some higher end moving heads. You're looking for those pieces that are going to give you that reactive piece, that are going to be bright. They're going to be able to move about the room. They're going to be able to use the humidity of the day, even if there's no haze, to be able to create those beams. Nothing against the low powers. And I haven't seen Howie in here, but Howie does amazing things with movers that I think are like 25 watts. All right. I think for those that are looking for that club piece, that are looking for that higher club relationship or club feel, you really got to get into the the 75s or above. 75s in a mobile aspect. Clubs probably 150. Who knows what they're using for the LEDs? But
they're
I know
units that are like that big.
Yeah,
I think
so. You're not taking that to a wedding.
No.
Yeah, and I think, Dan, when you started out talking about the suspending of lights over the dance floor, I think there's the key. One of the key elements is that you've got these brighter lights that are there, and they're going to have the action, motion, whatever. But the location of them, I think, is one of the biggest things that mobile DJs will kind of overlook. If you've got a bright moving head fixture, if I have it above me, that way I can look at my wife and the light's going to be kind of on top of us, but it's not in my eyes. If you take that same super bright light fixture that's there, but now I'm going to put it on a tree over by the DJ booth, so it's kind of mounted and shining out on the dance floor to the side, now it's going to be in my eyes half the night. And if I got a 150 watt LED that's all of a sudden going to come scanning across and hit me in the eyes, my dancing pleasure goes down tremendously.
Throw into that, this is something that just came to my mind, because I don't think the wedding side, but if you want to create that atmosphere, how about a lit floor of some sort? That would seriously create an atmosphere quickly.
And that would be a great option, because now you're not going to be those over 40, those over 50, that whole light, dark, lights flashing, beams in your eyes becomes a huge issue, or becomes a more uncomfortable atmosphere. A lit dance floor, you could have the cool thing going on. It could be reactive to your steps, whatever. But it's not going to be as putting off as.
I think it's going to be kind of inviting, even.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Just my thought. I mean, I don't know weddings. So.
Yeah, people are talking about lighting. The lighting in there using it comes down to the programming of the lighting, and I think it really does. Where you put them. How you use them. You might have
sound active is not going to cut it if you're looking for that type of relationship.
If you can keep the sound acting in a certain area, that's one of the keys. If you could keep it in the area as opposed to just going everywhere.
I thought you said one of them actually pointed down and going tick 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 tick.
Well, trust me, there's a few that do that. There's one place that it hits the wall behind the sound booth when it sticks, and it's like There was another place where they would have one that would point back towards the security cam, and man, did they not like when that light got stuck on the security cam.
Blind security.
I think it's interesting because, we joked about the sound active, but I think one of the things that we often struggle with as DJs is, and MJ kind of even alluded to this fact that in your higher end clubs, it's not one person doing both of those things. You have somebody that is specifically running the lights and you have somebody that's specifically DJing. And I think if you're looking for something like that and you have the equipment to do it, you need to be bringing somebody who's going to create that interaction, that's going to be able to go, okay, program A, now program B, now I'm going to tap because the DJ went up in BPM by 10, or suddenly slowed down by 20 with the transition. Like I need the lights to affect that. So you have somebody who's specifically running your lights to create that. I think you can do a lot with that, even with your up lights, even with your lights on a tree, even with your movers up on up on totems, and have that great high energy piece. But again, somebody's responsible for it and controlling that. And somebody earlier mentioned Sound Switch. I don't know enough about Sound Switch. I've watched a bunch of the videos and stuff like that. That could be your in-between piece. If you're like, well, I want to get there, but I'm not there yet, that might be a good piece to get there until you to say, okay, now my light shows are so big, I need somebody to be running them the whole time.
We've got about 5 minutes left here, give or take. We didn't touch on this part of it. Video screens. MJ, is that a big part of clubs?
It's huge. It's not even funny how much that is. And I was just talking to someone over the weekend about, I'm seeing mobile DJ setups now, because we were talking about how the panel stuff, you can piece the panels together and make a bigger screen, the LED stuff, where they're getting so far down in price. I've seen mobile DJs booths, not club, mobile DJs booths, where the front of it is all this big screen and they have the same thing behind them. So above them and below them, they have that video screen running with whatever it's programmed. And these are mobile guys that are designing things with, 8 foot by 4 foot in front and 8 foot by 4 foot behind them. And stuff like, there's a lot you can do, but that's where I'm starting to see people take that to another level, to where that can be lighting, atmosphere, emotional stuff, memories, a camera on the crowd. People love to look at themselves on the screen. There's so much you can do with that. But I know there's a club here. Half the people wouldn't call it a club. They would call it a lounge, literally, because it's long and skinny. And the main bar is on the other side, so long and skinny. The entire wall is video. Multiple projectors coming at it. So from the front, when you come in the door, ceiling to floor, all the way back, projected video. Someone gets bottle service, they get their name up there. Happy birthday, so-and-so, on the big wall all night long. It's all about making them, it's your special night, stuff like that. Yeah.
Dan, your booth has a screen in the front of that. What kind of a reaction have you been doing music videos, dropping them in once in a while? And
no, I'm not doing music videos,
okay.
But what I do to personalize it is take an engagement photo from the bride and groom and put a monogram piece over top and put that in the front. And I will say this, if you're contemplating, if you decide to build something, decide to have something, having that screen out front, just kind of what MJ was saying, you make them feel, they're already big because it's their day, but you make them feel like rock stars. So many times I've had couples walk in, like they knew I was doing something and they sent me the picture, but they saw it. It was night and day difference. They're just like, oh my gosh, I knew what it was going to be, but I didn't expect that. My couple, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I kind of snapped a couple photos with my phone. The photographer was taking a picture of the bride and groom posing by my booth over their picture. They're like fist bumping over top of this picture because you're making them feel special. Nice. You're making them feel above. And of course, there's my nice little logo right there on my laptop, which is
that was the thing. One of the clubs that I spun at, they had a video screen, and it was one of those ones where you do not talk on the microphone ever. But people's birthdays. So I would, because with virtual, you can put text on the screen, and I would say, okay, happy birthday, so-and-so, right in the middle of the screen up on big giant wall, because it's full wall, My logo in the one corner, the club's logo in the other, people standing by it, getting their picture taken, posting with all of that there.
Nice.
It's marketing. And you'll see the post that I'm going to post later after the show tonight of last weekend. I have my little booth out with my TV that's on the front of it. And that is like the smallest configuration, but it still has the TV. I still do video. I can still do lighting to the effects. I can do text. Like I said, for me, doing even just the littlest place, that's my small thing that I takes with me, and it has a TV. So think about that. A lot of people, how many people do you know, both you guys, I know we're almost out of time here, wedding DJs that have the TVs implemented into their setup on a regular basis? Lot, little, some, none?
Some. I mean, some of our friends do just because they're in that circle, but when you get to actually in the central Minnesota market, maybe 10%, if that.
Okay, just curious.
In my area, I can only think of one other person that's doing that. However, all my friends through Facebook, that I shouldn't say all, but a lot of my friends through Facebook are
both of them.
Yeah,
Dance is all his friends, both of them.
Both of them.
But and you're right here. No, they're implementing the screens in some form or fashion. Some are doing them on their booth. Those that have the actual booths, others that are doing the kind of the furniture or the podium styles now. They're using TVs in other ways. But yeah, it's pretty common in some of those levels. I haven't personally had any. I kind of thrown it out as options for videos, and the couples they're not feeling that side.
Sure.
I think we've talked, I think they're talking high energy. I think they're talking lights. I don't think, but I would also say, as I'm thinking about the clubs that are in this area, anytime that I've gone into them recently, they're not doing music videos. The one club, and then the ones that are bars with some TVs around, they're showing other stuff on the TVs. They're not doing music videos up on. So
I could see that. All right, thank you guys for being with us tonight. We had a great crowd, some good chat in the chat room. We didn't get to really engage too terribly much, but yeah, thank you guys for being there and sharing your experiences and things with everyone else who was in the chat room tonight. As MJ said, of course, we do have our shows. They're out on Spotify, and they're out on iHeartRadio, and they're all over the place. So you can go and check those out. If you miss a show and want to catch a podcast of it, it is out there, and there's iTunes has got hundreds of them that are out there. So they're
also on Google Podcasts too for those who aren't Apple.
Yeah,
fans.
Yeah, they're. I think we've got like 7 or 8 different spots that everything's out there. Up next, Hanging with Howie at 10 o'clock, so in about 9 minutes, they'll be firing up at DJNTV.com/chill. You can head out there and talk to them. This will be the last Hanging with Howie, because next week is over at they're at DJ Expo. So tonight will be the last one for Howie and the crew, and then next week we're going to have to figure out some. I'll be coming in, and it'll be Hanging with John or something. Maybe we'll do a walking up and down the driveway show. That'd be awesome. That'd be fun. So that'll be going. And then the rest of the week, we've got a couple more shows tomorrow night, Tuesday night. Tuesday, they do the recording at 10 o'clock Eastern in the chill room again, DJNTV.com/chill. That's the Tuesday night music show with Jay and Brian. And we've got a couple of other shows that will be streaming this week. And we got
next week, if they come out with anything at the expo, I may do a live just to talk about gear. I don't know what's going to come out, but I might do a live thing just to talk about gear.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting. I'm looking forward. Dan's going to be our man on the scene at the show next week. So hopefully he can find some things. But Dan, I'm just not feeling too optimistic. I'm
crossing my fingers for everybody here and myself included. I would love to be like, hey, they surprised us with this.
Yeah,
I'm not being optimistic.
He's going to be like, look, this company put out new headphone bags.
The zippers don't work, but hey, they're.
I'll show off all the giveaways. Oh wait, they probably won't do that.
Yeah, they're probably not going to be so much of that. So
that will be the headphone bags.
Yeah.
While we're talking DJX, I know we got to run here, but I just want to give a quick shout out. Next Tuesday night, if you are going to be at DJX, make sure you stop by Beret behind the Irish Pub, just off the boardwalk. Great night. It's the chill event. This is like 6 years running, with the only year off was 2020, obviously. It's just a great time. You can come out, you hang with everybody. it's not gonna be the club atmosphere with the sound in your face, but so it's gonna be more of that lounge, right? You're gonna have the music, you're gonna be able to also talk. And my set I'm still kind of putting together, but chances are I'm just gonna try and get people dancing like I did last year. But come out, have a good time. Like I said, it's really low key, just enjoyable, and everybody's welcome. So please come out, say hi, get selfies in front of the stage, and then post them all over the place. That'd be great.
Excellent. Take us home, Dan.
All right. Well, on that note, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful night. Hopefully you pulled something away. Basically the idea is talk to your couples, find out what they're really meaning when they say club, because otherwise you got to see MJ for all those extra must-haves and must-dos. Have yourself a great night, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.